The air is heavy and damp. Somewhere far below the marble halls of the imperial palace, there is a silence so thick it presses on the chest. Then, a sound, the slow drag of iron chains across cold stone. It is the sound that announces the arrival of the condemned. Torchlight flickers at the end of the narrow corridor. Shadows dance along the curved walls, like twisted spirits trapped in the stone too. Guards appear, their faces expressionless. Their boots echo in rhythm with the trembling footsteps of four. The man between them, the prisoner's head hangs low. A hood of rough burlap hides his face, but the way his shoulders tremble tells more than any words. Robes once embroidered with the crest of his noble house are torn and stained, the smell of mildew and sweat clings to the fabric. He has marched forward without a word, and as the torchlight sways, it reveals the door at the end of the hall. Door is not wood, but iron, its surface blackened with age. Bolts and rivets scar its face like the remnants of ancient battles. Beyond it lies the place whispered about even among the emperor's most loyal servants, the chamber. When the door creaks open, a wave of air rushes out. It is not fresh air, it is heavy with the scent of old smoke and something faintly metallic. The guards push the prisoner inside. The room is dim, except for the orange glow of braziers set in the corners. Chains dangle from the ceiling like the bones of some metal creature. The walls are lined with instruments whose purposes are better left unimagined. But here there is no need to imagine. Every mark on the stone tells the story of what they condoned. In the center of the chamber sits the emperor himself, not on a throne of gold, but on a high wooden chair that rises just enough to look down upon anyone brought before him. His robes are crimson velvet, trimmed with fur. His crown is small, but heavy with jewels. The flickering light, his face is half shadow, half carved in the cold patience of a man who has long believed himself the voice of God on earth. The guards force the prisoner to kneel. The hood is pulled away. His eyes are red, but still alive with a glimmer of defiance. Emperor studies him for a long moment. He does not speak at first. Silence is part of his theater. Finally, his voice cuts through the air, a deep voice sharpened by years of command. He calls the prisoner by name once spoken in the courts of Europe with respect. Now it echoes in this chamber like the toll of a funeral bell. This man once stood beside the emperor at banquets and councils. He had fought in battles, carrying the imperial standard into the thick of the fight. But in a world where faith and loyalty were measured in absolute obedience, one whispered doubt, one meeting with a wrong mind, one book read in the secrecy of candlelight was enough to brand a man a heretic. The emperor leans forward. He speaks of betrayal, of how heresy is not only a crime against God, but against the empire itself. He speaks as if his words are scripture. The prisoner tries to answer, but the guard's hands tighten on his shoulders. Emperor signals, and one of the robed men steps forward. This is the chief inquisitor. His eyes are as still as the surface of a frozen lake. In his hands he carries a book bound in cracked leather. Inside are confessions of men who once believed they could resist. Each confession ends with the same fate. Chamber does not let dissent leave alive. The prisoner's crime is read aloud. Not acts of violence, not treachery of the sword, but thoughts, ideas that challenge the order set by the emperors. God, the words are treated as if they are weapons deadlier than any blade and Hun. Here lies the disturbing truth history often hides, that in the age of empires, it was not only actions that could damn a man. It was what he allowed himself to think. The torture chamber was not built to punish the body alone. It was designed to break the mind. The emperor rises slowly from his chair. He walks toward the prisoner with measured steps. Every guard, an inquisitor, watches without speaking. The emperor stops just short of the man's bowed head. Then he kneels, bringing his face close enough that the prisoner can see the faint lines of age. Emperor whispers something that no one else in the room can hear. The prisoner's eyes widen. It is not a threat. It is worse. It is a promise that even if the body survives, soul will not. The chief inquisitor gives a signal to guards, move to the wall, where a wooden wheel studded with iron spikes rests against the stone. Its surface is darkened with old stains. The prisoner is dragged toward it. His protests echo, but do not reach the emperor's ears. For the emperor has already turned away and returned to his chair. This is not his first night in the chamber, nor will it be his last. The wheel is set upright. The prisoner's limbs are bound to it with coarse rope. The inquisitor steps forward again, this time with a slow and deliberate calm. He begins to speak of redemption, of confession, of the mercy of the emperor and the church, if only the truth is spoken. But the truth he demands is not the truth the prisoner holds. It is the truth the emperor has chosen. The prisoner's voice shakes as he denies the charges, and with that the first turn of the wheel begins. The sound is not loud, but the human body makes sounds that once heard are never forgotten. Nay, guard turns the crank with an expression carved from stone. Inquisitor watches the prisoner's face for the moment the mind begins to break. This is not merely punishment, it is performance. The emperor does not need the confession for evidence, needs it for the theater of power. A confession taken in this chamber is not a statement of fact, it is the ultimate proof that even the strongest will can be unmade. And yet there is something strange in the prisoner's eyes. Even through pain, there is a spark, a memory, perhaps of the days when he stood in sunlight before crowds who cheered his name, or of the quiet nights when he read the forbidden words that now condemn him. Perhaps it is that spark that infuriates the emperor most of all. Inquisitor stops the wheel for a moment, offers another chance at confession. But the prisoner's voice, though strained, is steady. The denial stands. The emperor raises one hand. The guards halt. Silence fills the chamber again. Then the emperor speaks slowly, declaring that the man before them is not merely a traitor to God, but a danger to the eternal order of the world. The sentence will be carried out, and when it is over, no record of his name will remain in the imperial archives. The prisoner's eyes close. A faint smile appears at the corner of his lips. It is not victory. It is the smile of a man who knows that in the darkness of centuries to come, the truth may still be whispered somewhere beyond the emperor's reach. Far above this underground chamber, the city sleeps. The bells of the cathedral toll midnight, and in the chamber below, emperor prepares to finish what he began. The guards move with precision. They have done this many times before. Ropes tighten. The wheel is turned again, each movement pulling joints beyond their natural limit. Sound of creaking wood mixes with a low groan of strained muscle and torn sinew. A drop of sweat falls from the prisoner's brow and disappears into the dust on the floor. The inquisitor watches closely. His role is as much psychological as it is physical. Every question is timed to arrive. When pain peaks, every pause is a calculated silence. Prisoner's breathing grows ragged, but he still refuses to speak the words demanded of him. Emperor sits unmoving only. His eyes follow the scene. There is no pity in them, only the cold calculation of a ruler who believes this moment will echo as a warning to others. Warning louder than any decree or sermon. One of the guards shifts uneasily, even in a place where cruelty is routine. Something about this man's endurance is unsettling. It is as if each turn of the wheel feeds the fire in his spirit rather than extinguishes it. The inquisitor changes his tactic. He orders the wheel to be released. Prisoner's body sags against the ropes, but before relief can take root, two men bring forward a heavy iron chair, its back and seat embedded with short spikes. The prisoner is forced down onto it. Even the smallest movement drives the metal deeper into his flesh. Inquisitor leans forward and whispers of mercy, of family spared of a quick and painless end if the truth is confessed. But the truth remains locked behind clenched teeth, so the chair becomes another instrument in the long night. Here lies one of the darker truths buried in the chronicles of the age. Torture in the service of the crown was rarely about discovering secrets. It was about the theater of dominance. Every noble, every priest, every merchant who heard of these chambers was meant to understand. Emperor's will was not to be questioned, not in word, not in thought. The brazier flames sway as a draft slips through a crack in the stone. The light plays across the emperor's face for a moment. It reveals a strange expression, not anger, not satisfaction, but something closer to curiosity. Though he is studying the prisoner, not as a man, but as a puzzle that refuses to be solved, the inquisitor grows impatient. He calls for the next device from the shadows. Two guards roll forward, a table fitted with leather straps. Beside it lies a small wooden case. Inside are tools polished not for beauty, but for efficiency: pincers, knives, and assortment of iron spikes. Their metal gleams in the firelight. The prisoner is unbound from the chair and laid onto the table. Straps tighten across his chest and limbs. The inquisitor selects a small iron spike and holds it to the brazier. The metal begins to glow. He does not begin with a question this time, only the slow press of heat against skin. The smell of burning flesh curls into the air. It is a smell that lingers in the memory long after the moment passes. The prisoner gasps, but does not cry out. The inquisitor presses against. Till the silence holds. A guard murmurs that perhaps the man is beyond breaking. The emperor's gaze shifts sharply toward him. One does not speak such thoughts in this room. The hours pass, no confession comes. The inquisitor's voice grows hoarse. The guards' arms ache from their work, yet the emperor remains as still as the stone walls around them. At last the inquisitor steps back. His tools hang loosely in his hands. He admits to the emperor that the man will not speak. It is not a defeat, he voices lightly, for in this chamber failure carries its own punishment. The emperor rises. He approaches the table and looks down at the prisoner. Blood trickles from his wrists where the straps bite into skin. His eyes are half closed, but there is still that same spark. Emperor studies it with an expression no one else can read. Then he does something no one expects. He orders the straps cut. Guards hesitate, but obey. The prisoner sits up slowly, every movement a struggle. The emperor tells him he is free to walk. No charges will be written, no record will be kept, but he will not leave the palace. He will remain a guest of the crown, a guest with no name, no past, and no voice in the affairs of the world. It is a punishment worse than death, to exist but be erased, to walk the halls where once he commanded respect, now invisible, now a shadow. In the centuries since, few chronicles mention such sentences, but whispers remain in the letters of ambassadors and the notes of palace servants, men who disappeared without execution, yet were never seen beyond the gates again. Prisoner is led from the chamber. The iron door closes. Its echo rolls through the corridor like the final beat of a drum. The inquisitor stands in silence. The emperor returns to his chair. For him this night is done, but for the man just released into captivity without walls, true torture has only begun. Above ground, the sun begins to rise. Its light touches the gilded towers of the imperial palace. A city wakes unaware of what has unfolded beneath its feet. Emperor steps into that light as if he has spent the night in prayer. Days turn to weeks. Man who once stood at the emperor's side now walks the palace like a ghost. Servants glance away when he passes. Courtiers whisper behind their sleeves, but never meet his eyes. He eats alone, sleeps in a chamber without windows, and is summoned without warning to stand silently in the emperor's court. It is a living death. No chains bind him, no guards follow openly, but every step is watched, every word overheard, every breath accounted for. Night he dreams of the chamber, not the pain but the faces, the emperor's calm, the inquisitor's frozen stare. Silent guards. Each dream ends with the sound of that iron door closing. He wakes with the taste of smoke in his mouth. Outside the palace walls, the empire moved forward. Wars flare on distant borders. Merchants bring silks and spices through guarded gates. Priests preach obedience from the pulpits, and in hidden corners men and women still speak the forbidden words that brought him here. Ideas live on in whispers. unbroken by iron or fire. One evening, the emperor calls for him. Great hall is lit with hundreds of candles. Their flames flicker in the draught from the high arched windows. The emperor sits at the head of a long table. Before him is a document sealed with wax. Slides it across the table. Without speaking, the man breaks the seal. Inside is a confession written in another's hand. It declares him guilty of heresy. It absolves the emperor of sin in his judgment. It is a document that will close the story forever if he signs. Emperor tells him calmly that the signature is his only path to release freedom for a lie or a lifetime. In shadow, the choice cuts deeper than any blade. Signing would be a betrayal of every truth he holds. Refusing means surrendering any hope of seeing the world beyond the palace. Again, he looks into the emperor's eyes and sees no malice, only the certainty of a man who believes he is right. The candlelight bends and sways. Time seems to hold still. Finally, he sets the quill down. Parchment remains untouched. The emperor nods once as if expecting nothing else, then orders him return to his chamber. Years pass. His hair turns to gray. The city changes. New faces fill the court, but the emperor does not age in his eyes. Same measured steps, the same calm voice, the same unshakable belief in his own divine authority. It is said that in the emperor's final years he would sometimes walk the gardens alone, and on rare occasions would stop where the man sat in silence beneath the olive trees. They would look at each other without speaking. Two old warriors of a battle fought without swords. When the emperor dies, the palace changes. Overnight locks are opened, orders are burned. Man is told he may go wherever he wishes, but when the gates open, he does not leave immediately. Walks the halls one last time, past the rooms where he once commanded, past the court where he once stood proud, and finally down the narrow corridor that leads to the iron door. It stands closed, cold to the touch. He does not open it. Some doors once shut must remain shut. When he steps out into the city, the air tastes different, fresher, but the weight of the years does not lift. He is free, yet he carries the chamber within him. Every stone, every shadow, every whisper of the emperor's voice. History will not remember his name. The chronicles will speak only of loyalty and divine justice in us. The reign of the holy emperor, but truth survives in other ways, in the stories told quietly in taverns, in the letters hidden between the pages of harmless books, in the hearts of those who refuse to bow to fear. And as we look back now, centuries later, we must ask ourselves, how far have we truly come when voices are silenced in different chambers? Power still dresses itself in the robes of righteousness, when the line between justice and domination remains as thin as candlelight. The stone walls of that chamber may have crumbled, the iron door may have rusted away, but the spirit of it, the cold certainty that one will can bend another until it breaks, still walks among us. We must see it when it comes, must know its shape, its voice, its quiet persistence, and we must decide whether we will turn the wheel or stand against it. Thank you for walking through this story with me. If it stirred something in you, if it made you think about the power we give and the truths we keep, I invite you to stay with us for more stories like this, because the past is never truly gone. It is just waiting for someone to open the door again.